On May 23, 2014, a young man went on a rampage in Isla Vista, California, murdering 6 people and wounding 13 others. 3 of those who died were stabbed in the killer's apartment, while the other 3 were shot to death. It was a premeditated mass murder. The harrowing work of 22-year-old Elliot Rodger. Elliot's roommates, George Chen, 19, Wei-Han Wang, 20, and Cheng Yuan Hong, 20, seemed to have noticed Elliot's strange behavior months before the massacre and wanted to move out. Sadly, they weren't able to find a way out in time. In the early hours of May 23rd, they died in the hands of their very own roomie. Investigators assumed that Elliot killed them in 3 separate events, Wei-Han Wang first, then Yuan Hong, and finally George, stabbing them to death one by one as they arrived in the apartment, and making efforts to hide the murders after each time. At 9:17, Elliot uploaded a YouTube video entitled Elliot Rodger's Retribution, wherein he outlined his dark plans and motives. The video has since been deleted, but there he described his crime as a product of the rejections he experienced and his loneliness and unfulfilled desires. It was his revenge for being mistreated and overlooked by women. After that, he emailed a 137-page manifesto called Twisted World, the story of Elliot Rodger to 34 people, including his parents, other family members, childhood friends, former school teachers, and therapists. Similar to the YouTube video, this manifesto details his intentions for a day of retribution, the result of his anger and jealousy towards those around him. Next, he went to the Alpha Phi sorority house near the University of California, Santa Barbara, intending to kill all of the people inside. But when he failed to get in, he shot 3 sorority sisters walking nearby, 2 of whom died. Bianca DeCote, 20, luckily survived, but Catherine Cooper, 22, and Veronica Weiss, 19, died at the scene. Next, Elliot drove further into town and fired into the Isla Vista Deli Mart from inside his car, killing Christopher Michaels Martinez. As he was driving away from the Isla Vista Deli Mart, he was seen by 4 responding foot patrol officers, but they didn't suspect him to be the shooter at the time. They just allowed him to pass by. Thus, he was able to continue his carnage, shooting at several pedestrians in drive-by shootings and striking others with his black BMW. At some point in his rampage, he collided with parked cars and drove on the wrong side of the street. He ultimately wounded 12 people, 6 by gunshots and 6 with his car. By this time, authorities were already catching up with him. He got into a short gunfight with a responding officer and got away unharmed. Towards the end of this killing spree, he got into another gunfight near Little Acorn Park with 3 deputies. He suffered a gunshot wound to the left hip, but managed to escape. Elliot then crashed into a bicyclist, Keith Chung, wounding him, and then killed himself. Initially, authorities thought that Keith Chung was a second gunman, so alongside Elliot, who at the time was already dead, they handcuffed him and took him into custody. He was released after they confirmed that he was just one of the victims. So when they investigated the crashed car, they recovered 400 rounds of ammunition and 3 semi-automatic handguns. The guns were legally bought in Burbank and were registered to Elliot himself. That came as a huge shock to his parents, who didn't know he owned guns. They knew that he was going through something, but thought that it was the other way around, that he was the one vulnerable and that he might hurt himself. They never thought that he would ever hurt others. Even as generous parents aware of their beloved son's suffering, they had no idea that Elliot was amassing weapons and laying out a chilling plan to kill. The day after the rampage, police went to Elliot's apartment to investigate it and found the bodies of his 3 roommates. All of the victims in the shooting incident were promising college students, so young and excited to live life to the fullest. All of their dreams ended in just a blink of an eye. Christopher Martinez planned on attending law school. Wei-Han Wang was an only child, the only ray of sunshine of his parents. George Chen was a warm-hearted person who went to school early to tutor his classmates. He loved giving back to the community, and once he even volunteered at a computer camp for children. They could have achieved more, but because of this slaughter, their lives were cut short. But how did this tragedy come to be? What pushed Elliot Rodger to do all of this? In the words of the Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown, the killing was the work of a madman. Elliot Rodger was the son of British filmmaker Peter Rodger and Malaysian research assistant Lee Chin Rodger. He was also the grandson of the popular photojournalist George Rodger. Clearly, he was raised in a creative and charismatic environment, but family life was not without mishaps. When Elliot was 5, his family moved to Los Angeles. 2 years later, his parents divorced but remained friends for his and his younger sister's sake. Soon after that, his dad married Moroccan actress Soumaya Akabunea, and they had a son. All of these, his parents' divorce, and the big move to the US, probably affected his growing mental issues. Ever since he was 8, Elliot had been receiving psychiatric treatment and seeing different therapists. He was prescribed medication for a variety of mental disorders, but refused to take any of them. Elliot's mother expressed her belief that his son suffered from Asperger's syndrome, even though he was never formally diagnosed with any developmental disorder. In school, starting in 9th grade, Elliot was heavily bullied. He claimed that he was unable to make any friends, though people later said that he was the one who rebuffed their attempts at being friendly. At one point, when he attended Crespi Carmelite High, his head was taped to a desk while he was asleep. It was horrible. He wrote later on in his blog that he cried by himself at school every day. To keep her shy son from being lonely, Chin Rodger regularly arranged playdates and lunches for him, even as other kids his age started making plans of their own. When he turned 18, he started to reject mental health care and became increasingly isolated. He depended on online games and blogging. He developed an obsession with World of Warcraft, a multiplayer online game, and spent countless hours playing alone in his room. Then, he started a YouTube account and a blog entitled Elliot Rodger's Official Blog, through which he expressed his loneliness. He also frequented online communities that fall into the manosphere, those platforms which strongly oppose feminism and promote misogyny and masculinity. Most of his teenage life was dominated by gaming and writing. He had no social life, no real friends. Dale Launer, a screenwriter and a family friend, said that he counseled Elliot on making friends with women, but Elliot didn't follow his advice. He remained isolated. So as the years went by, he grew more and more frustrated and detached from reality. His parents became his support system. They tried to console him through late-night phone calls and arrange for counseling. His mom even bought him a BMW to help boost his confidence, but his parents' efforts didn't really help him. In June 2011, he moved to Isla Vista to attend Santa Barbara City College, but he dropped out after just a few months. From 2011 to 2012, Elliot was involved in a series of minor incidents in which he threw drinks on groups of people when he was jealous. It was a series of small, yet alarming actions that soon led to carnage. In September 2012, he started visiting shooting ranges and bought 3 handguns from 3 different cities. It was also around this time that he started to work on his manifesto. In July 2013, he attended a party and tried to interact with ladies there, but they just ignored him. So he tried to push some girls off a 10-foot ledge. He failed. Instead, he was the one pushed off by other men there. He left, but upon realizing that he forgot his sunglasses, he returned and was beaten up by the same men that pushed him moments before. It placed him in a really embarrassing and painful situation. This was investigated by the police, and they determined that he may have been the aggressor. This caused Elliot to start planning his rampage. He was able to save a considerable amount of money from his parents and used it to fund his murder spree. Mass murder was about to happen. At one point, he also planned to kill his stepmom and half-brother, but he was not mentally prepared to kill his dad. In January 2014, Elliot performed a citizen's arrest on his roommate Cheng Yuan Hong, accusing him of stealing a set of candles. After being arrested, Yuan Hong pleaded guilty to a petty theft charge, but the police dismissed the case due to inadequate evidence. Months later, on April 30th, his parents saw his YouTube videos and became alarmed, so they contacted authorities right away. However, when the officers interviewed Elliot at his apartment, he downplayed the situation by telling them that he just had a misunderstanding with his parents. In the end, police decided that he didn't meet the criteria for an involuntary mental health commitment, nor was there any reason to legally search his place. At the time, Elliot was almost ready to start with his killing spree, having 2 handguns in his possession already. He claimed in his manifesto that a search would have ruined his plans. It was a relief that the police didn't search his apartment. He wrote in his manifesto that he initially planned an attack on Halloween 2013, but reconsidered since police presence would certainly be increased. The 2014 Isla Vista mass shooting renewed the calls for gun control in the US. Those calls go on until now, as shooting incidents happen from time to time. The most frustrating thing about these happenings is that they are preventable. Shootings can be prevented by stronger gun laws and by taking warning signs seriously. In Elliot Rodger's case, there were tons of red flags. When his parents saw his YouTube videos, they immediately called the police to check on him. And if they searched his place, they could have seen his guns. Police officers have frequent contact with people struggling with mental illnesses, but have very little training in recognizing the symptoms and evaluating when they should be taken to a clinic for further evaluation. Many years of mental disorders and social challenges pushed him to do this crime, yet his primary homicidal motives were rooted in envy and hatred for others. In his last YouTube video, he complained of being rejected by women and envying sexually active men. He was so frustrated that at 22, he was still a virgin and had never kissed a girl. College is a special time for adventurous young people. It is the time when everyone experiences new things like parties, sex, travel, and many more exciting things. Elliot said that he has been through college for more than 2.5 years, and yet he never got to experience those things. He also mentioned in his manifesto that being of mixed race made him so much different from normal fully white kids. In addition, in an online forum, he said that he opposed interracial dating. He made racist posts on Hispanic, African American, South Asian, and East Asian people, stating that seeing men from these groups dating white women makes him want to quit life. In his ideal world, he said he would quarantine the entire female population in concentration camps and starve them to death. That would be an efficient way to kill them off. Then, he would build a tower just for himself and watch them all die. He also dreamed of a pure world where man's mind can develop and reach greater heights than ever before. He wanted to expand man's intelligence until they reached the state of perfect civilization. That way, the future generation can live their lives free of having to worry about the brutality of women. This manifesto offers a glimpse into the mind of a mass murderer. It's not common for killers to leave such declarations of their grievances, and this one did lead his path towards murder and violence. I understand that many people cannot finish it because of how disturbing it is, but if you browse some pages, you'll realize how well written it is. There are a few grammatical errors. Elliot Rodger was, no doubt, an intelligent man who knew how to explain himself articulately. His recollections were so very well detailed. His language doesn't suggest psychotic thought processes, but we know very well that he was sick and that he needed help. For sure, there are thousands of other people out there who are just like him. There will always be something mysterious and unfathomable about these kinds of people. We love learning about them. Are you one of those who love watching true crime documentaries and reading books about serial killers? There is always something new to learn, right? But I'm sure none of us would ever want to meet one face to face, just in books and documentaries. However, some say that if you want to dive into the mind of a mass murderer, be careful. You may discover things about yourself you wish you never had. Our minds hold their own mysteries. Now, it's time for you to decipher yours. We'll end this video now. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's anything you want to share about the story, please comment down below. I would love to hear your thoughts, not just about Elliot Rodger's psyche, but also on other related cases. Feel free to comment topic suggestions for our upcoming episodes too. So there. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Also, to watch more episodes like this one, click the notification bell to get notified each time there's a new video. We upload new ones around 3 times a week. More interesting stories to come. See you guys soon.